The Calithians and the Zoran Empire had been locked in a deadly dance of war for millennia. These two alien superpowers, with technologies far beyond human comprehension, had once been the undisputed rulers of the galaxy. They had perfected the art of warfare, building colossal fleets, impenetrable planetary defenses, and weapons capable of annihilating entire star systems. Yet despite all of this, neither could gain the upper hand. Their conflict, which had spanned generations, had ground to a stalemate. Entire civilizations lay in ruin as collateral damage. Planets once teeming with life had been reduced to ashes. For both the Calithians and the Zoran, the war had become more than a fight for power, it had become a grim cycle, with each side locked in a relentless struggle neither could win nor afford to lose. Neither faction could surrender without risking the total destruction of their species, but victory remained out of reach. The war raged on, hollow and exhausting, threatening to unravel the very fabric of the galaxy. In this universe, Earth was nothing. A backwater planet on the farthest reaches of the galaxy, its people knew nothing of the galactic stage or the horrors of interstellar war. The Calithians and Zoran, focused solely on one another, had never even noticed Earth. To them, humanity was irrelevant, a primitive species with no advanced technology, and no understanding of the galaxy's politics or conflicts. For millennia, Earth had gone unnoticed, blissfully unaware of the turmoil beyond the stars. But humans, as ever, were curious. Though primitive by galactic standards, humanity had begun to explore beyond its solar system, pushing the boundaries of their limited technology. They were taking their first, tentative steps into a much larger universe, unaware that their journey would bring them right into the heart of a centuries-old war. One such exploratory mission, led by a small crew aboard a human vessel, ventured into uncharted space, unknowingly crossing paths with forces far beyond their comprehension. The accidental encounter happened in the blink of an eye. The human ship stumbled into the middle of a skirmish between Calithian and Zoran fleets, a battle far beyond their understanding. The ship's sensors blared warnings as enormous, alien vessels fired weapons capable of tearing apart whole starships with ease. To the human crew, it was like being caught between two giants. They had no idea what was happening, or why they had been drawn into the chaos. All they knew was that survival was now their only objective. For both the Calithians and Zoran, the sudden appearance of a new, unknown ship in their battle was confusing. The Calithians, who prided themselves on their vast intelligence networks, could not comprehend how they had missed the existence of this species. The Zoran, fierce and militaristic, viewed it with suspicion, wondering if the Calithians had developed a secret weapon. Both sides hesitated, unsure whether this small, seemingly insignificant vessel posed a threat. The humans, however, were far from helpless. Though their technology was inferior, they possessed something that neither alien faction anticipated: ingenuity. The crew quickly assessed their dire situation and began to execute a series of unorthodox strategies. They navigated their ship through the battlefield with precision, dodging attacks and using the alien fleet's massive sizes to their advantage. Their lack of advanced weaponry was compensated by their quick thinking and adaptability. They fired off countermeasures, created decoys, and used guerrilla tactics to survive in an environment where they should have been destroyed within seconds. What was supposed to be a swift annihilation of a primitive species turned into a tactical dance. The human crew managed to survive long enough to evade capture or destruction. They didn't win the battle, they didn't need to. Their mere survival, in the face of overwhelming odds, sent shockwaves through both the Calithian and Zoran forces. Neither faction could believe what they had witnessed. How had this unknown species managed to navigate a battlefield dominated by the most advanced military technology in the galaxy? How had they survived with such limited resources? For the first time in 1,000 years, the war had taken an unexpected turn. Both sides had underestimated the humans, and both now realized that this new player in the game could change everything. The Calithians, known for their meticulous calculations and strategic foresight, began to view humanity not as a minor nuisance but as a potential variable, one that could disrupt the delicate balance of power. The Zoran, ever focused on military dominance, saw in humans a possible threat, a wild card that could undermine their quest for total victory. For humanity, the encounter was a sobering wake-up call. They had stumbled into a war far beyond their understanding, but they had also glimpsed the fragility of the alien powers that ruled the galaxy. Earth had been irrelevant for so long, but that was about to change. The humans had entered the fight, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The Calithians and the Zoran Empire were not used to surprises, especially not from an unknown, primitive species like humans. The aftermath of the battle left both factions confused and intrigued. They were accustomed to predictable, calculated warfare, where advanced technology was king, and yet these humans, with their rudimentary ship, had not only survived but had done so in a way that defied explanation. How had a species with such limited resources managed to avoid destruction in the middle of an intense intergalactic conflict? Both factions immediately began analyzing the encounter. The Calithians, with their scientific and analytical approach to warfare, dissected every detail of the human vessel and its crew's tactics. It didn't take long for them to realize that while humans lacked the technological sophistication of either the Calithians or the Zoran, they made up for it with an uncanny ability to adapt. Their creativity, resourcefulness, and quick thinking had turned what should have been an impossible situation into a demonstration of their potential. The Zoran, on the other hand, were more militaristic and aggressive in their evaluation. They viewed humans as unpredictable, and in war, unpredictability could be a dangerous weapon. The Zoran prided themselves on their military strength, but humanity's erratic and unconventional tactics were something that couldn't be easily anticipated. This made them a threat, a wild card that could disrupt the stalemate that had defined the war for so long. As the Calithians and Zoran studied the humans further, they began to see the broader implications of humanity's involvement. This was no longer a mere curiosity. Humans had the potential to destabilize the fragile balance of power in the galaxy. The Calithians, cautious by nature, feared the chaos that humans could introduce into their strategic calculations. The Zoran, always focused on domination, saw the need to either bring humans into their fold or eliminate them before they could become a serious problem. For both factions, Earth, which had once been an afterthought, now came into sharp focus. Initially overlooked, the planet was suddenly of great interest to both the Calithians and the Zoran. They saw humanity as a potential asset, or threat, depending on how the situation played out. The Calithians considered recruiting humans, recognizing their potential as creative strategists. The Zoran, more aggressive in their approach, debated whether it was better to eliminate the threat before it grew larger. If humans could influence even a small skirmish, what could they do if they became more organized or more technologically advanced? Back on Earth, the human perspective was much different. The crew that had survived the battle returned with crucial information that shocked Earth's leaders. They had unknowingly stumbled into a war far larger than anything humanity had ever imagined. Governments across the planet scrambled to understand what they were facing. Earth's military and political leaders, realizing the scale of the conflict, began preparing for the potential of being dragged into an interstellar war. But the gravity of the situation went beyond just defense. It was about the future of humanity's role in the galaxy. The Calithians and Zoran both realized that if they wanted to tip the balance of the war in their favor, they needed to act quickly. Diplomatic overtures were made. For the first time, Earth received contact from both sides, with offers of alliances and promises of advanced technology. The Calithians reached out with the allure of knowledge and strategic partnerships, emphasizing a future where humanity could rise as a powerful ally in a post-war galaxy. The Zoran, ever the warriors, offered something different: power. They promised military technology and the strength of their empire, warning that to stand against them would be folly. For Earth's leaders, this posed an unprecedented dilemma. Humanity was not ready for this kind of galactic politics, yet the decision they faced would shape the future of the planet. Aligning with one side could bring protection and technological advancement, but would mean entering a war that humanity did not start, and perhaps could not end. Remaining neutral, on the other hand, might seem the safer route, but neutrality was not something the Calithians or the Zoran respected. Eventually, Earth would have to choose, or the choice might be made for them. Earth's governments were divided. Some factions argued for an alliance with the Calithians, believing that their more strategic and intellectual approach would better suit humanity's long-term survival. Others leaned toward the Zoran, seeing their military might as the best option for defending Earth in the short term. There were also those who pushed for neutrality, hoping that by staying out of the war, humanity could buy itself time to strengthen its defenses and perhaps forge its own path. But as Earth's leaders debated, they knew one thing for sure: time was running out. The Calithians and Zoran would not wait forever, and neither would accept humanity's refusal lightly. The humans had already made an impact simply by surviving, and now their next move would determine not just the fate of their planet but the future of the galaxy. Humanity had always thrived in situations where they were the underdog, and this conflict was no different. Earth's military, though initially outclassed by the advanced technologies of the Calithians and Zoran, quickly adapted to the new reality of intergalactic warfare. Humans had a long history of war, filled with lessons in survival, adaptation, and most importantly, asymmetric tactics. They had never relied solely on brute force, and that gave them an edge in this fight. Earth's military began studying the tactics of their alien opponents, noticing patterns and weaknesses in their strategies that neither faction had ever been forced to address before. The Calithians and Zoran had grown complacent after millennia of fighting one another. Their fleets were massive, their technologies overwhelming, but their tactics were rigid and predictable. This is where humanity excelled. Earth's fleets were smaller, their ships less powerful, but they were agile, adaptable, and creative. Humans didn't fight the same way their enemies did. They used guerrilla tactics, deception, and improvisation, turning every engagement into a chess match rather than a contest of sheer firepower. They would hide in asteroid fields, set traps with decoy signals, and lure enemy ships into vulnerable positions. Where the Calithians and Zoran expected a direct confrontation, humans responded with the unexpected. In key battles, these tactics paid off. Small human fleets began to achieve victories against larger Calithian and Zoran forces, not by overpowering them, but by outsmarting them. In one battle, a human task force lured a Zoran fleet into a dense nebula where sensors were unreliable. The humans used the cover to launch a series of hit-and-run attacks, disrupting the enemy's formations and causing confusion among the Zoran commanders. Despite being outnumbered, the humans emerged victorious, and word of their success spread quickly across the galaxy. These victories, though small in scale, sent a shockwave through both alien factions. The Calithians and Zoran, once confident in their technological superiority, were now facing a foe that refused to play by their rules. As humans continued to prove themselves on the battlefield, their influence grew in ways that neither the Calithians nor Zoran had anticipated. But military prowess was only part of the equation. Earth's leaders understood that the war between the two alien factions had no clear end in sight. The stalemate had persisted for so long that neither side could envision a true victory. That's where humanity saw an opportunity. Humans had long been skilled negotiators, capable of navigating complex political landscapes. With both the Calithians and Zoran exhausted from centuries of conflict, Earth positioned itself as a potential peacemaker. At first, the idea of humans mediating between the two greatest powers in the galaxy seemed laughable to both alien factions. The Calithians, with their superior intellect and strategic foresight, believed they could outthink the humans, while the Zoran, driven by their pride and military strength, saw no need for diplomacy when war was still an option. But as the battles dragged on and the costs of the war mounted, both factions began to reconsider. The Calithians, ever calculating, saw that continuing the war might ultimately lead to their collapse, while the Zoran, despite their aggression, began to realize that victory through sheer force might be unattainable. Human diplomats, emboldened by their military successes, initiated secret talks with both sides. They proposed a solution that neither the Calithians nor the Zoran had considered before: negotiation not as a sign of weakness, but as a strategic advantage. Humans, with their fresh perspective and neutrality in the centuries-old conflict, offered a way out that didn't involve mutual destruction. Their diplomacy wasn't about forcing a truce. It was about presenting both factions with the logical choice to end a war they could no longer win. The negotiations were tense, with each side reluctant to trust the other, but humanity's mediating efforts slowly gained traction. Earth's diplomats framed the peace talks not as surrender, but as a redefinition of the galaxy's power dynamics. They argued that continuing the war would only deplete both civilizations, leaving them vulnerable to other rising threats, potentially even from humans themselves. This idea of shifting alliances, combined with humanity's increasing military prowess, forced both the Calithians and Zoran to rethink their positions. The breakthrough came when humans managed to broker an agreement on a key issue: resource allocation in a contested sector of space. Both factions, exhausted by the fighting, agreed to stand down in exchange for shared access to crucial resources. This tentative agreement was the first step toward a broader peace, with humans at the center of the negotiations. As the talks progressed, the Calithians and Zoran began to see that their best chance for survival lay in working with, not against, humanity. The end of the war didn't come through overwhelming force or a decisive battle. It came through careful negotiation, strategic diplomacy, and humanity's ability to position itself as the key to the future. By the time the final peace accord was signed, the balance of power in the galaxy had shifted dramatically. The Calithians and Zoran, once the dominant forces, had been forced to acknowledge the rise of a new player, Earth. In the aftermath, humanity emerged as a major force in the galaxy. Their unique combination of military ingenuity and diplomatic strategy had earned them the respect of both alien factions. Earth, once considered insignificant, now played a crucial role in shaping the future of the galaxy. The war that had once seemed endless had been brought to a close not by the ancient powers that started it, but by the tenacity, creativity, and resolve of humanity. The galaxy, once torn apart by conflict, now looked to Earth as a leader in the new order. Humanity's entrance into the galactic stage was never anticipated, let alone desired, by the advanced civilizations that had fought for millennia. The Calithians and Zoran, with their immeasurable power, saw Earth as little more than an insignificant speck in a galaxy filled with far grander things. However, humanity shattered these preconceptions. From their very first, accidental encounter with the alien war, humans exhibited the resilience, creativity, and sheer determination that would ultimately reshape not just the war, but the very fabric of galactic politics. Initially dismissed as primitive, humanity's contributions quickly became impossible to ignore. Their tactics were unorthodox, their strategies unconventional, and their perseverance unmatched. The advanced alien factions, used to rigid doctrines and superior firepower, were unprepared for the adaptability that humans brought to the battlefield. By leveraging their smaller fleets and improvisational warfare, humans turned what should have been certain defeat into a string of victories. These successes not only disrupted the war, they earned Earth a seat at the table in discussions that had previously been reserved for the galaxy's ancient powers. What started as a desperate struggle for survival grew into something much more. Through their involvement, humanity brought an end to a war that had dragged on for centuries, a feat neither the Calithians nor the Zoran had believed possible. By introducing new ways of thinking, strategically, militarily, and diplomatically, humans carved out a place for themselves in a galaxy that had all but ignored them. Earth, once an afterthought in the minds of the galaxy's elite, was now seen as a vital player, respected and even feared for the potential it demonstrated. The end of the war marked the beginning of a new era. Humanity's legacy was no longer confined to Earth or its immediate surroundings. They had become architects of galactic peace, their influence felt in every corner of the known universe. Their ingenuity had won battles, but their diplomacy had won the peace. In doing so, they reshaped the power dynamics of the galaxy. The Calithians and Zoran, once the two unchallenged superpowers, now found themselves part of a more complex galactic order, one in which humans played a key role. Looking back, the greatest lesson of the conflict was the danger of underestimation. Both the Calithians and Zoran had seen humanity as little more than a nuisance, irrelevant to their grand designs. But humans defied every assumption. The war showed that technology alone wasn't enough to guarantee victory. What mattered just as much, if not more, was resilience, creativity, and the ability to think outside the bounds of established norms. In this, humanity excelled, repeatedly surprising both their allies and enemies with strategies that no one else would have considered. At the heart of humanity's success was unity. Earth's survival and subsequent rise to prominence weren't the result of individual efforts, but of collective action. On the battlefield, human soldiers fought with a shared purpose. In diplomacy, leaders worked together, understanding that only through cooperation could they bring about lasting change. This unity wasn't just a strength, it was the key to humanity's success in a war that had consumed far more powerful civilizations for centuries. It was through this ability to rally around a common cause that humans were able to influence the galaxy so profoundly. The story of humanity's rise in the galaxy is a quintessential example of the HFY, humans are awesome, genre. It's a celebration of the qualities that make humanity unique in a vast universe. The ability to adapt, to unite, to find strength in the face of overwhelming odds. Humanity's role in this story is not just about technological advancement or military might. It's about the indomitable spirit that allows humans to thrive even when the odds seem insurmountable. As the dust of the galactic war settled, one question remained: what's next for humanity? Having earned its place among the stars, Earth now stood on the precipice of a new era. The end of the war was only the beginning of humanity's journey. Their newfound influence meant that the galaxy was watching closely, eager to see what humanity would do with its hard-won power. Would they continue to act as peacemakers, helping to maintain the fragile peace they had helped establish? Or would they expand further, using their growing strength to explore and conquer new territories? Whatever the future held, it was clear that humanity would be a force to be reckoned with. They had proven, beyond any doubt, that they were not to be underestimated. Their role in the galaxy had been irrevocably changed, and their influence would continue to shape events for generations to come. Humanity's legacy was one of triumph over adversity, of unity in the face of division, and of a relentless drive to push beyond the limits of what was possible. As the galaxy turned its gaze toward Earth, the possibilities seemed endless. Humans had shown that they could not only survive but thrive in the most challenging circumstances. Their future was bright, filled with the promise of exploration, discovery, and continued growth. And as they continued their journey among the stars, they carried with them the lessons learned from their involvement in the war, a testament to the strength of the human spirit, and a reminder that even in the vastness of space, humanity's potential was limitless.